I would like to open the council meeting for January 17, 2023, executive session at 6 and regular session at 7.
This meeting is being held in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Publics Meeting Act. Adequate notice has been provided by transmitting the notice of this meeting to the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger by posting it on the bulletin board reserved for such announcements in the Township Municipal Building and by filing it with the municipal clerk on January 6, 2023. This agenda is complete to the extent unknown, and formal action will be taken. We'll begin with the roll call. Councilwoman Fisher?
Here.
Councilman Gazier?
Here.
Councilman Nadell? Present. Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Here.
Mayor Berger?
Present.
Thank you.
I'm not sure your microphones are on. It just didn't sound like it was. Mr. Clark, is there any reason to go into, let's begin the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we could have a moment of silence, please, for all of our fallen heroes. Thank you. Mr. Clark, is there any reason to go into executive session this evening?
Yes, there is, Mayor. We have topics to discuss, including personnel and litigation.
May I have a motion then to go into executive?
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session.
May I have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher? Councilman Gazier?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first meeting of the year. I would like to welcome the new council members and say welcome back, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
Everyone, I hope you had a wonderful end of the new year. And I would like to call the meeting to order. And I would like to stand and pledge allegiance, if we may. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And a moment of silence, please, for our fallen heroes. Thank you. So on the agenda, there's reports of the township officials, but we're going to move forward into the agenda and put that towards the end. But I did want to read something out of the Howell Township Council meeting protocol, which is really should be how our meetings are conducted. So the manner of addressing the council: each person addressing council shall step up to the microphone, shall give his/her name and address in an audible tone of voice for the record, and he or she or they shall limit their statement to 3 minutes. We have 5. Is that correct? All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body and a riot to any individual person thereof. No person other than the members of the council and the person having the floor shall be permitted to enter into any discussion either directly or through a member of the council without the permission of the presiding officer. No question shall be asked a council member except through the presiding officer. Decorum by council members. While the council is in session, the members must preserve order and decorum, and a member shall neither by conversation or otherwise except or herein provided delay or interrupt the proceedings, the peace of the council, disturb any member while speaking, or refuse to obey the orders of the council or its presiding officer. Decorum by persons. Any person making impertinent or slanderous remarks or who shall become boisterous while addressing the council shall forthwith be barred from further audience before the council by the presiding officer unless permission to continue or again address the council be granted by the majority vote of council. Enforcement of decorum. The chief of police or such member of the members of the police department as the chief of police may designate shall be the sergeant at arms at council meetings. He or she or they shall carry out all orders and instructions given by presiding officer for the purpose of maintaining order and decorum at the council meeting. I read this today because we did have a tumultuous couple of years every once in a while, and I personally would like to enjoy this year with new council members, some that I feel are quite intelligent. And so I would enjoy the conversation as opposed to bickering. So this is in our protocol. So anybody could take a look at it. It's on page 15. The one thing that I wanted to bring up, Joe is not here, but I think this is really very important, is AEDs. We don't have any AEDs in our parks. Freehold has them, and I have some information here regarding their ordinance. I mean, I think it's unsafe for us to have sports without having devices to help. I mean, somebody was just saved because of one. So, I mean, I would propose that as council, that we, make a recommendation that we provide AEDs in all public areas so that our townspeople are safe. And again, there is an ordinance from Howell Township that I could share with Joe. So that being done, what I would like to do is move forward with the hearing of citizens. And at this point, I have Barbara Dixell. Thank you, Caitlin.
I keep trying, Mayor, and I don't quite get there. I'm sorry. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Happy New Year to everybody. It's good to see you, new council. Wishing you all well. Please do your job diligently with honor and dignity for the Township of Howell and its citizens. Okay, I want to ask about R23-59. Anybody want to answer that?
Mr. Clark?
Sure, so we went over the meeting protocol, so if you have specific questions, we'll address them after the public comment section, so I'll write down you want to know what R2359 is.
Okay, also, sir, hold on. Let me just turn this, sorry. O-23-01 and O-23-02. An explanation on both. On the second one, I want to know who, what kind of salaries are going to be given out, and on the second one, 02, why are we accepting a donation of, a pump station or something from somebody? Why are we accepting something like that from Kent Plaza sewer pump station? For what reason are we accepting it? What's it going to do for us? And what's it going to cost us? Thank you. Anybody want to answer these questions?
So after the public comment section is closed, we'll answer the questions.
Thank you very much. And again, Mayor and Council, new Council, please, I beg you, just do the right thing for everybody, by the book, with justice for all, and we'll all be happy. We'll be a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. At this point, I have no other person signed for the consent agenda.
Hello, Tina Smilek, 33 Charles Street. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
So the new way of doing this is we ask the questions. What if we have a follow-up question when you answer the questions?
So, as I've said so many times in the past, it's public comment, it's not question and answer, and it's not a dialogue. So we are going back to that because the point of the meeting is for the governing body to transact business for the town. You have a right to comment, but as I said, it's not a question and answer session, and this helps avoid those times when we go down a rabbit hole for a long time instead of transacting business.
Okay, so residents really don't get their answers questioned if they have more. Got it.
Well, what you can do is you can send an email, or you can make an appointment to visit with any of us. There are plenty of other ways you can get your questions answered.
Okay. Okay, so first thing I want to start off, the new signs here in Soldier Memorial, they both look great. I do have a little problem when you come down Route 9 and you're coming here. It's very hard to see this sign out here, but beautiful signs. Nice job in upgrading and getting those there. Another question is, rumor has it that the Howell Rec Camp is moving to PAL. I want to know if that's correct or false.
Well, after the public comment,
Yep.
we'll answer it.
So I'm just going to go through what I have. For Resolution R-23-64, I just wanted to know who's been doing the upkeep and maintenance on it for the last, I don't know how many years, before, the deed wasn't done, and is that an expensive job? R-23-69, there is nothing attached to show what's being amended. What was the capital budget in 2022? Are we raising it? Are we lowering it? 2022 capital budget is very important to this council because what in 2022 goes through are, the interest rates are very high now, so I'd like to know what's being amended because there's no attachment or anything in there. I don't know if we know what our funded capital amount is versus our unfunded capital amount, because going forward, it's going to be very important for you to know the capital, being that the interest rates are not going down right now, and that totally affects your budget and how you're going to move forward with your budget. So I'd be very interested to know what, at the present time, in the past, how much of our capital budget is funded and how much is unfunded. Is any of those unfunded going to be stricken not to be used in this year because of the interest rates? R-23-79, what kind of expansion are we expected to Fairfield Road? I looked at both of these properties owned by NJDOT. It looks like it's right by the Stavola solar farms. Is that the area, is that the parcel that is asking to be, have a warehouse there also? And is that to help widen the road in that area for that? Or which it is? So just want to know what kind of expansions are going to be done there. R-23-75, this is the Ramtown First Aid Building, uncollectible taxes. Once we get it, will Ramtown First Aid still be there? What's going to happen with Ramtown First Aid? I know it's been a problem for a while now. So just want to know about that. R-23-80, I love this one. I just want to say pickleball courts on the skate park. I was looking, there's a lot of houses around there. I just want to make sure there's, pickleball is very loud, so a lot of, when you look at Parks and Recreation, you're looking at putting them away from residential areas, so maybe on the opposite side of the park would be better, because you will have residents complaining, because you can read anything and see how pickleball courts in residential neighborhoods causes issues. So, but I love that ordinance. I love that you're starting to update parks. I hope we get that grant, and I think it's absolutely great.
Thank
And
you.
I think that's all I have right now. Good luck to everybody. Enjoy.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come up for public comment? At this time, I would like to close public comment. Mr. Clark, is now when you would be responding, or after we vote?
Sure, I can respond to him. So very quickly, with regard to what Barbara was saying, R 23-59, we're changing the appointment to appoint, I believe, Ed Runyon as the chairman. He's been there for quite some time, and I think there was an oversight at reorg, so that's just correcting that. 023-01, I'm just going to briefly address those because there'll be a public hearing at adoption, and there'll be more commentary there. 023-01 is our yearly salary ordinance. It's in accordance with the Teamsters and the TWU contracts. It also has a provision in there for my salary. So if there are specific questions at the next meeting, and I'm sure there will be, we can address those during the hearing on the ordinance. That's a little bit different than the public comment section. So 023-02, I'm going to let Matt answer because it sort of dovetails with one of Tina's questions about R 2379.
So this is a commercial site. It's actually the former Pizza Hut site property. It also has a medical office building to the side. Back when it was developed in the 80s, it was in the resolution of approval. The pump station was supposed to be given to the township, dedicated to the township. Everything was in line, and then there just doesn't seem to be a deed and a transfer of ownership of that. So it's come to our attention now. We've met with the owner of the site. We're in agreement. They're going to give us the pump station like we should have had it, and we'll maintain it going forward. The costs of owning it now will be maintenance going forward. We have our sewer department that oversees all of our pump stations. We also have contractors help us with maintenance and work as needed. So not unlike what we're doing at a dozen other pump stations.
Is there revenue from that?
No.
What would the maintenance be?
It's a machine, so it's a mechanical process. There's always going to be changing out pumps, changing out safety railings, different things. It's a whole operation.
Thank you.
Okay, so with regard to Tina's questions, that deals with R 2364. So the property donation is that donation. It's of the Kent Road Pump Station. R 2369, amending the capital budget, that is to include, we acquired back in December the development rights for a parcel of property up by Weapon Station Earl. It's part of a program that the Navy is looking into in that area where the homeowner retains the home and they have, I think, a life estate in it, but they give up the development rights, and we paid a portion of that. So I think that's what Lou is looking for the amendment to the capital budget for. I can get him for a more thorough answer if we want. Let's see, R 2379, I'll let Matt discuss that.
When Route 33 was constructed, DOT bought up a lot of properties around it. They kind of carved up a lot of different lots. These two properties, they're called orphan lots. They are a couple hundred square feet in size. They're very oddly shaped. They're a couple feet wide by 100 feet long, something like that. Right now, because we don't own them, the work that is going on Fairfield Road would not be able to improve roadways the entire length. If we were to own them, that includes curbing and paving and different things like that. So it is in the area of development on Fairfield Road. If we own it, the developer can continue the project and connect the curbing to make for a uniform road, which is a very good idea. So we're looking to take the ownership of that so that they could do that work.
Thank you. So at this time, I will,
Mayor, I think Joe went to get Lou I think Joe went to go get Lou Plotz
okay,
to
okay.
address.
I'm sorry, I didn't even,
Were you getting?
That's okay. I just asked Lou, I just checked with him, and I was correct. The amendment for the capital budget was to cover the acquisition of those development rights. And then one last thing, the uncollectible taxes relating to Ramtown First Aid. Ramtown First Aid is defunct, and the property that they once owned was the township's originally, and upon their dissolution, it reverted back to the town. So that's what that accounts for. So we also now have back in our inventory that particular parcel.
And all the equipment that goes with it, yeah?
Yes.
At this time, I would like a motion for the consent agenda, but I would request that we have 2362 separate vote, and I would request 2381 as a separate vote.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
So that would be 2354 through 61, 2363 through 69, 70 is excluded, 71 through 80, excluding 81, and 82.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Gager.
Yes.
Councilman Nadell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes,
Thank you. The consent resolutions pass.
thank you. Now may I have a motion for R 2362?
I'll make a motion to approve R 2362.
Second.
Authorizing execution of a shared service agreement with the Manasquan River Regional Sewage Authority for vehicle refueling.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Abstain.
Thank you. Councilman Gager.
Yes.
Councilman Nadell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes.
Thank you. The resolution passes.
Resolution R 2381 is actually an appointment my appointment to the Howell Planning Board, and I officially would like to appoint, as I said, Randy Bishop to that position. And then we have R 2380.
Excuse me, I need a
I'm sorry.
motion.
Oh,
I'll make a motion to accept the mayor's appointment.
Second.
thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Gager.
Yes.
Councilman Nadell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes.
Thank you. The resolution passes.
Thank you. Resolution R 20-82, providing for transfers between budget appropriations contained in the 2022 appropriation reserves municipal budget. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve R 23-82.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Gager.
Yes.
Councilman Nadell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes.
Thank you. The resolution passes.
At this time, do we have any unfinished business due to public hearing or adoption of ordinances?
No.
We have to introduce the ordinances. Yeah.
No. Okay. There are introduction of ordinances. Ordinance 023-01, an ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 23-01.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Gager.
Yes.
Councilman Nadell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
No, and I've had discussion with Caitlin regarding.
Thank you. The ordinance does pass in first reading.
Ordinance 023-02, an ordinance of Howell authorizing, an ordinance of Howell Township authorizing the acceptance by the township of a donation of the Kent Plaza Sewer Pump Station. May I have a motion?
Motion to adopt, introduce O 2302.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Gager.
Yes.
Councilman Nadell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes,
Thank you. The ordinance does pass on first reading.
thank you. I would like to now have reports from our professionals, please.
So I just wanted to give a quick update on our vacant and abandoned property ordinance.
Thank you.
We've identified 56 properties, done initial inspections on all of them, and documented them as vacant and abandoned. We have probably another 20-plus to go. Within the next month, we're going to send out the initial notices to property owners. I think we're going to land around 75, between 75 and 100 properties. And then within 30 days, probably they'll have to register. So we're going to get that kicked off. We're also going to be able to start looking at different types of inspections for the Fire Bureau for a safety standpoint, and enforcing even stricter standards for property maintenance and signage on these properties so that they're on the registry, people know where to find them. We get Oprah requests all the time looking for this list, so it's possible that people are looking for distressed properties to buy and hopefully fix up. So I'm hoping that we're going to see some improvements on some of these properties very soon.
I know this is like an off-the-wall question, but do you think you know, like, what volume we're talking?
Of how many?
Yeah.
Right now, we're at 56. I think we're going to land between 75 and 100.
That's it? In the entire township? I mean, in the entire township, 100 homes out of how many that we have?
I mean, those are the ones that are obviously vacant and abandoned. There could
Okay.
be some that are in fine shape, and yes, we don't see anybody coming and going during working hours, and they're hard to find.
Okay.
But if we get complaints, if we get foreclosure notices from banks, there's different ways to find them. Some
Sure.
are definitely harder, and, you know, we don't want somebody going out to work 9 a.m. to 5
And you
p.m.
moving
us,
in.
Well, and us saying, oh, you're vacant abandoned, it's just because they're at work all day.
Right.
So these are the ones that are very obviously
Yeah, I was just wondering
distressed,
the
older.
number.
So 100 is about where I thought we'd fall. I think we're going to be close to that, and it's definitely a good start.
Does that increase annually by a big percentage, or?
Second year, there are higher fees, yes, and then they'll stay consistent from there.
May I ask a question?
Yep.
Since we're
Please.
talking about properties, while we were canvassing and campaigning, and now that we're elected, we've gotten emails and concerns from many residents about the new issues with the rentals in Howell. And I know it's changed over the past year and a half. Is there any way that you can look into introducing a new ordinance, or maybe amending the ones we have to include maximum occupancy, maybe raise the fines for the landlords?
So I've definitely been hearing this too, more so in the last, I'd say 6 months to 9 months, or 6 months to a year, than we had in the previous couple of years. It actually kind of took me back to pre-COVID time when this was more of an issue too. And we're definitely seeing it more. We're seeing the complaints. They're very difficult things to enforce. Even if you go to a property, most people, you know, hey, we have a complaint, there's 20 people living in your house. Can we come in and take a look? Most people are going to say no, and code enforcement has only so much rights to a property. So we could definitely look into it. We're going to look at our existing codes. We can try and model something after some of the shore towns where they have very strict signage requirements and posting of the number of occupants allowed. If we're in there for inspections, it's something that our building department could just kind of double check. There are exterior signs, how many cars, different things like that. Some of them are hard to enforce, but we could definitely take a look into that. With the fines as well, we do have a meeting scheduled with our judge to talk about our court procedures, and we want to make sure that if anybody's thinking of breaking ordinances, that they know there's a strict consequence, because if an over-occupancy nets you X amount in rent and we charge you $200 because you get caught, it's not going to do it. So we're looking to tighten things up a little bit on the housing side.
Thank you.
Good question.
One final thing I want to address is our farm events.
Your?
Farm events, and kind of some things that have gotten some attention in the past. So our ordinance, and more so the municipal land use law, is very strict on changing a use of a property and what needs to happen. If you change the use of a property, you need site plan approval. The exceptions are single-family dwelling properties, different things like that. You wouldn't believe how important that ordinance is, because it's what I use to refer people to the planning board and zoning board almost every day. Without that, it would be a bit of a, free-for-all. Just think of a retail site turning into a movie theater, an office turning into retail sometimes. It's not so much is it permitted in the zone or not, it's how the site's built. We have strict site plan rules and requirements for the number of parking spaces, buffering requirements, size of buildings, location of parking lots, ADA access. All of this comes into our site plan review. Without that, you don't have uniform development. You don't have sites that work. If you're not paying attention to those changes of use, or if you're letting them slide every once in a while, eventually you have zoning creep. And then as a zoning officer, well, okay, they got away with this here. or they got away with this on a different site. How can I enforce it fairly? All it takes is one Oprah request to say, what'd you do over here? Why'd you let that one go and not me? And as a zoning officer, I'm beat at that point, so we don't want that. What's been happening with the farm events? I work pretty closely with our county agricultural development board. I'm constantly in contact with them when issues come up on farms, because we're a right-to-farm town. You're allowed to farm, every lot in town, no questions asked. Industrial, commercial, Route 9, wherever you are, you can farm. What happens when somebody's doing something either under the guise of farming or something that they think is farming, but it's not? You wouldn't believe things we find on certain properties. Rodeos, mechanics, schools, daycares, apartments, extra living quarters, trailers, people living in trailers. And everyone wants to say, well, it's a farm. So unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. I usually clear these items with the county ag board and say, does this have any chance to fall under right to farm? Do I have to give them the opportunity to bring this and see? Usually the answers are no. Honestly, the responses I get are, I can't believe what goes on in Howell. Like, how do you deal with it every day? But it's an issue for the farms itself, but it's a global issue as to not allowing a change of use without proper approval. And it doesn't matter what type of property it is. Like I said, residential, commercial, whatever it is. If I'm going to look the other way on a farm, I'm now giving a bias towards farms to do certain things. We have discussions to be had with the governing body in terms of policy and how we want to look at certain things. And do we want to make them permitted uses or not? There's an open conversation about weddings and parties, and that's something that we have to discuss. But I've had to stop existing weddings and parties because the county says they don't want to deal with that. It's not a farming activity. And while I get that it's an economic opportunity for farms, and yes, we do want to keep farms in business, we have to make sure that it works. And going back to that site plan, do you have enough parking? Do you have enough means to accommodate 150 people coming onto your property in a 1-hour window? And the answer isn't always yes. And work has to be done on those properties. And how do I enforce that work? Through site plan. So it's not so much that we're anti-farm, anti-any use, but we strictly go by the book. Because if somebody is going to want to do something and I let it go on a farm, when it's next door to you and they want to do the same thing, I'm going to have a hard time enforcing it.
So just listening to you, I would like to look into that as some type of economic development for the town and for the farms. And actually, that would keep more property in farm than it would than go towards warehousing. So maybe there's a way that we can look at those different types of parties. Maybe there are different levels that you can do depending, only 5 people, 10 people, what have you. But if there's a way that we could keep the farms in business and them not sell it to warehousing, I think that's how we keep the town the way it is. So instead of kind of putting I almost want to say like a hindrance to it, maybe we could try to figure out a way to make it a win-win.
I agree. And that policy we can definitely talk about, and it's already kind of in shape in our master plan a little bit. So that's already kind of got the ball rolling. But we do have to discuss also, it's not always the parties and events. We have full-scale 50 vendor flea markets with food trucks and overflow parking on a commercial site, an industrial site, which was a steel, concrete manufacturing site, which was very unsafe. So yes, I think we do need to have boundaries on it still, and we need to make sure that we can properly ensure that the public is safe. I mean, that's really a big, that is one of the main goals for me. And again, 50, 60, 70 cars coming in and out of a farm driveway on a major road that's not built for it, without sight lines, all these different things could be an issue. So that's where I agree, we definitely need to find a middle ground, and they need to get a review that's appropriate.
Well, but I'm just going to give a kind of an example of something that we're doing that I feel is problematic, and that's Echo Lake. we used Echo Lake for Christmas, and it was beautiful. It really was, and it was wonderful to be inside. But the amount of people that were there it was dangerous, in my opinion, parking-wise, because there was not a lot of area to park. So, I mean, I think we should follow our own guidance almost when it comes to parking and events, similar to what we're trying to enforce on the forums.
I don't disagree, and that's conversations we've had and about the feasibility of using certain sites for large events.
So I'll just jump in quickly. So with Echo Lake as well, we did have shuttles running for that very
Right.
reason. Number one, and number two, we're looking to expand the parking there, because I think it did work pretty well as an event. And
Yeah, I was
we're
just
gonna-
using as an example.
But no, we're gonna look to do it better. So we've had meetings already afterwards to kind of hash it out with the Farmers Market Committee and just internally, because you're right. I don't know that a lot of people exactly knew where the pickup spot was for the shuttles, so maybe we'll make it Town Hall next year because it's kind of hard to miss, and, so there is, and you're right, it's a perfect example of the kind of dialogue that we all should be having and formulating the policies that we're going to be driving forward this next year, so.
Were there any other questions that were unanswered by the public?
No, that was it.
That was it?
Yeah.
Okay. At this point, our regular meeting dates, our regularly scheduled meeting is on Tuesday, February 7, 2023.
Mayor, just to interrupt, I was going to
sorry.
give you a quick update on some of the other stuff.
That's why I thought you said you were done, that's why.
No, I was done with Matt's
Oh, okay,
stuff.
sorry.
So on this end, because I wanted to give you the DPWs.
Sure.
So the LED signs are installed at Global and Soldier Memorial. They do look really good. I thought they came out very, very well. We have 2 full passes of leaf collection, finished on December 19th. Total of 658 loads of leaves were collected. Christmas tree collection is complete. The bottle filling stations that were installed here at Town Hall have replaced a total of 1,875 plastic bottles. The archery range, we are coordinating the installation of targets with the United Bow Hunters of New Jersey, so we should have that up and running very soon. We filled 404 potholes and 133 trees from the hazardous tree survey. Very quickly, so that everybody knows, this has to do with the road closure on Church Road, just west of Friendship. It will be closed with no access starting next Monday, January 23rd at 7 a.m. It's going to be reopened by the middle of September. Ford and Kent roads will be utilized as detour routes during construction. Some of you may have noticed that the railroad is running a little more frequently. A new company has acquired some old Conrail routes, and they're updating them and dusting them off. So,
Are they thinking about commuter?
well, they can't. They don't have it, but it never hurts to have active rail, and, that's certainly something we'll be pushing towards NJ
It's
Transit.
75 feet from my house.
It used to run on Thursday nights. Last fall, it switched to running twice a week during the day. You might know it crosses Asbury Old Tavern, Maximo, Glen Road, and it terminates in Lakewood. Its major customer is a lumberyard. So they're working to reestablish freight rail service from Freehold to Farmingdale. So you may notice some brush clearing operations along the route there. This is not the township doing it, it's the railroad. It's covered under federal law, so we don't really have a whole lot of say in it. The right-of-way is typically 66 feet from the center of the track, but they're going to be clearing 24 feet from the center. And they're going to work at several of the roadway crossings to repair and/or reinstall the tracks in the spring and summer, and we'll give you notice as that starts to happen. New Jersey Natural Gas has completed the main replacement within Aldrich Road, started connecting properties to the new main. This work will continue through the end of March, and Aldrich Road will be repaved in June. And then finally, just from my end of the building, we're working on the budget right now. I'm going to try and introduce it late February, early March. I may reach out to you to schedule a special meeting for it. And I would anticipate having a little bit more robust presentation this year that includes, remarks about the state of the township and generally where we anticipate everything going over the next few years. So I'll certainly be in contact with all of you about that.
Joe, will we have the opportunity to meet with the department heads as well? Because we did,
The budget hearings were in November,
okay,
so, we could probably set up some meetings internally to talk here and there, but just reach out to me and let me know.
because the major ones, I just like to,
Yeah. No, I agree. It's been a different budget process. I'm not going to go into too much how the sausage was made, but we've been working together a lot as a team, kind of amongst the departments to figure out who needs what and what can be put off till when, so somebody can get something this year and maybe somebody else gets something next. So it's been a collaborative process, and I think everybody will be pretty pleased by it. That's pretty much it. We've got a lot going on with the parks too, so, stay tuned.
before I had mentioned AEDs, I think you had stepped out for a minute. I was wondering if we can implement AEDs in all of our public places.
I'll have to look and see. I know we have them here.
Yeah, but we don't have them in the
I'll
parks.
have to look and see. I'm not sure in terms of security and being able to keep them secure but accessible. I don't know how we
So Freehold
accomplish
Township
that.
does it. Is there a way
Yeah.
that you can connect with Freehold Township
Yeah.
and see what their
Yeah, I'll check and see.
process is?
So, of course, I don't think it's that much. So we'll look into it certainly.
Thank you. Okay, so then I guess the next meeting is Tuesday, February 7, 2023, executive at 6 and regular session at 7. Everybody have a wonderful evening. And I want to say thank you, council. This was a very enjoyable executive as well as council meeting. The first time in a very long time. Thank you very much.
So before, I did forget a question. Tina had asked about whether or not the recreation, the camps were being handled by PAL this summer. They are. More information is going to be coming out soon. But PAL and the township have been collaborating for years on it, and this now, I think at this point, there's going to be hopefully a greater variety offered to people in terms of how the camp operates. So whether it's part summer, part day, full day, I think PAL is probably set up to be able to offer a more robust experience than we were able to. So yes, they will be helping.
Excellent, thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am,
may I make a statement?
you may.
Thank you. The clerk's office will be hosting a free rabies clinic on Saturday, February 4th, from 9 a.m. to noon at the Public Works Garage on Old Tavern Road. If there is a snow event, it will be rescheduled till February 11th, and we'll also be selling dog and cat licenses as well.
Oh, good, I need to get my dog. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.